Fallout New Vegas is often held to be the best of the Fallout games, or at least the best after the Bethesda purchase. This is often attributed to Obsidian, who had worked on the series before, but my previous attempts to play the game have been mired by bad hardware, game bugs, or ridiculous mistakes I made in my rush to speed up the game. But I decided to revisit it and see if I was actually missing out. Well, in regards to the story, I see why most people enjoy this game. The story as a whole has a much stronger RPG feel than either 3 or 4. There are multiple factions to choose from, though none have a clean record, allowing for a little bit more difficult decision. There are also stronger character narratives and actual consequences to your actions. I will admit I'm not the biggest fan of some of the exposition used, and I personally think that the presence of the lingering struggle for power over the Mojave could have been presented a little bit better through natural encounters. I'm not exactly sure that they could have done it differently, as I think it kind of adds to the role-playing element, as your character would have theoretically known about the state of affairs, assuming that they didn't suffer from amnesia after the inciting encounter. Gameplay has also had some improvement over 3. Firstly, the guns have iron sights and handle marginally better than 3, though the quick turnaround between the two is really noticeable in most of the combat. AI is basically the same, but the largest differences is the crafting system, which is cool, though not as useful as I would have liked, and not nearly as enticing as the weapon customization options of 4. Also, I personally feel that this game is a bit easier than 3, and the game's infamy for a charisma build is very well earned. At first, I didn't really like the fact that you only got a perk every other level, but a lot of the perks feel way less useful than others, so it does allow for a little bit more strategic long-term planning, again encouraging a much stronger traditional RPG feel. Visually, I don't think that New Vegas is much better than 3, if better at all. It does swap out the bland grays of 3 with sandy browns. I also think that it has less visually memorable locations than 3, as outside of Vegas, the wasteland is fairly bland and only has maybe a couple of memorable landmarks. I also think that some of the internal locations are a little bit too big, like some of the military camps or Freeside, as it allows for slight pop-ins, and I feel that the larger open space of the wasteland does display the draw distance a little bit more than 3, but it isn't terrible outside of the occasional texture pop-in. The in-game music is also excellent and expertly establishes a tense and bleak theme. There are also decent selections of older songs on the radio, though I don't think I like the selections as much as I did 3. There are also additions that fit the Western theme, though the radio channels do feel a little less real than 3, as there seems to be less chatter, but it does make for a decent backtrack for long walks across the desert. The voice acting is also fairly standard Bethesda affair. For the most part, it is good, but there are odd inconsistencies that likely stem from actors playing too many characters, Bethesda flubbing the script causing the actors to act to the wrong character, or even potentially recording on different days. Fallout New Vegas also has basically identical accessibility to 3, having a lot of in-game options to approach combat and VATS on top of variable difficulties that I think will allow most players of varying capabilities to play the game. There are also subtitles, though unfortunately there is no in-game way to change either the written or spoken dialogue. As a whole, I think it is a little bit more convenient than Fallout 3, but it's only because it never had the Games for Windows Live issue, which has since been patched out of 3 on Steam. It is available on the same platforms, those being Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, as well as being available digitally on GOG, Steam, and the Epic Game Store. I personally played both the Steam and GOG versions, and the GOG version does seem to work better out of the box, Though throughout both versions, I encountered a number of issues, including character spawning in the air, texture loss or flickering, and the famous infinite loading screen. There are also other unfixed bugs that are fixed by the fan patch, but I don't think I encountered any of these. And honestly, my criticism for 3 in that regard still stands. But overall, my personal experience with Fallout New Vegas was pretty good. The world does feel a little bit emptier than 3, but the storytelling and writing is better. And ultimately, I don't think that its technical improvements are that much better than 3. I know this is going to piss off some diehard fans, but I personally prefer 3. That doesn't mean that this is a bad game, and I would still recommend it to players, if a little bit more sparingly, as it seems a little bit more niche to me, earning it a decent. But let me know what you think about the Fallout series down in the comments below. Check out my last video on Warhammer 40k Space Marine, and consider subscribing. Until then, this has been Rob the Slob, and I'll see you in the virtual commute.